We welcome in Matt George. Matt George playing hurt today.
It's my guy.
Kind enough to join us here on D'Lo and Casey.
The main eventer of Batty Thursdays.
Batty Thursday. And yeah, it's okay. Matt's confused by the reference, but Matt, just so you can grab the context of the baddies that are on Thursday. Olivia Christian.
Yep.
Sarah Hodges.
Yep.
Matt George.
Boy, what a drop off.
Well, no. Look,
yikes.
The interesting thing about it, Matt, is you were the one that put it over the top.
Yeah.
Because at one point we were like, oh, we got Sarah on, we got Olivia on. They're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And they were like, and we got Matt George. And they're like, yo, this is a Batty Thursday.
That's what happened. That's what happened. But again, Matt George playing hurt. We appreciate you being with us. Even fought through a post-game edition of the Locked On Kings podcast last night, available wherever you get podcasts from. Matt, let's start with that game last night and start with De'Aaron Fox. Nope, scratch that. Wrong. We're starting every conversation with Harrison Barnes.
Damn right.
The great Harrison Barnes. He took a beating the last couple of days because of that 0 he put up against Golden State, and we saw that performance that he had last night. What's the key to get Harrison's consistency locked in?
Boy, if that was not the $1 million question. To me, what jumped off the page to me, and it's good that we're starting with Harrison Barnes, because I even acknowledged in my podcast last night, like I talked about Trey Lyles and I talked about Mike Brown before I started talking about Harrison Barnes. I said, man, I'm being disrespectful.
We take him for granted.
We do
when he does well, but the second he does wrong, we'll lead the show with it.
But it's because he's not flashy. Like Malik Monk, I think you said this when you were on Locked On Kings. Like Malik Monk will put up 16 points. You're like, yo, that block transition 3, yo, he's amazing. And then Harrison Barnes drops 20. You're like, all right. But what jumped off the page to me is like Harrison was involved in almost every possession offensively to start that game early on. Like even if he wasn't the facilitator, like he was touching the ball every time up the floor. They would go through the typical like high post handoff with Domantas Sabonis, and Harrison Barnes was always at least getting his hands on the ball at one point and continuing to move the action. And he was very decisive, which I know is a big proponent of Mike Brown's offense, that half a second to react. And he was doing that. And then, I mean, the first 8 minutes, 5 points, 6 rebounds, a steal, a couple of assists, like night and day difference, right? From the 0s and 1s across the board from Monday night's stat line. So I asked Mike Brown after the game, I started that press conference asking him, was that Harrison's decision to be more involved, or was it part of the game plan to like get Harrison Barnes involved early on? Because we've seen that before. We saw when Keegan Murray was slumping a couple of games ago, the Kings drew up a play for Keegan Murray right out of the gate. I think he missed the shot. So we know the Kings are trying to incorporate players and try and get them going. Mike has admitted before that the Kings have not drawn up any plays for Harrison Barnes, and I don't recall them drawing up any plays for Barnes last night. He just was involved. He was active. And even as the fifth option, still being involved and active results in good moments like what we saw last night. Do I expect 20 a night from HB? No. But if he gave me 12 or 14 points, but is that as involved and active as he was in that game, that's the HB that the Sacramento Kings team needs on a nightly basis.
I agree. And one of the things that stood out for me that I really looked at and said, this is him getting involved, getting down and dirty in this game. There's 9 rebounds. I said a number of different times, if you're not scoring, it's okay to a certain degree if you're doing other things. You just can't do nothing, right? You can't not be playing defense, not rebounding, and not scoring. And I love the 20 points. It's awesome. But the 9 rebounds, especially, when it was needed against a team like Cleveland that has such a big front line, that's what, that's something that I believe can continue with him. The scoring, and I know not everybody's saying, he can average 20 points a game. Nobody's saying that. But he may give you times when he has 6 points again. Like I'm fully prepared for that. But if he's doing something like defending and rebounding at a relatively high and aggressive clip, then maybe those 6-point efforts, those 7-point efforts are a little bit more withstandable.
And truth be told, like when it comes to his defensive effort, Like this might sound like a criticism, but it's not. Like I didn't recall anything, which to me is a positive considering blown defensive assignments that he's had consistently throughout the season to this point. Like he was just steady. And steady is the word that I use to describe that entire game for the Sacramento Kings. I thought it was just a very steady performance. Some people call it a complete performance. I think steady is a more appropriate word. And there were so many similarities between last night's game and Monday night's loss to the Golden State Warriors, with the exception of something that I've been pointing out that I think is a key to the success of the Sacramento Kings going forward. They started the first and third quarters not strong, but okay, just fine. Like it doesn't have to be extreme because we've seen them start the game hot and then the third quarter they allow a team to come back, or we've seen abysmal starts and the third quarter is their quarter. If they got rid of those highs and lows and was just average or steady, it doesn't matter if they're not outscoring their opponents by 6, 8, 10 points. Like if they can just control their game to open a game and to open a second half, I think that solves a lot of momentum problems for this Kings team. And then when you saw the Cleveland Cavaliers late third quarter, early fourth quarter make their push, it was very similar to Monday. Donovan Mitchell was putting the team on his back, finished with 38 points. Kings didn't panic. Cleveland took the lead. Kings answered back and went back and forth a little bit, and the Kings created the separation they needed. To me, that the team's ability to show growth and to show an ability to learn in over the course of a season without it taking half to 3/4 of the season, to me is a very clear indication of what Mike Brown and his coaching staff are doing right. And the players themselves are clearly receptive to what they need to be working on and improve.
I thought last night's game was a testament to Mike Brown and everything he's done this year. And it really stood out to me when I realized De'Aaron wasn't on the floor with like 5 minutes to go. And there was all right, it wouldn't be the first time he kept a player out. It would be the first time it was De'Aaron. And Davion was playing tremendous against Donovan. And it was like, all right, ride this out. Like we've seen Mike do this. And then he puts De'Aaron back in. De'Aaron picks up on Davion Mitchell exactly where he should be. And I'm looking at this like, man, Mike Brown, this is an incredible night for Mike Brown in my estimation. Like it's a stamp on what he's doing with this team and how they've all seemed to have bought into it.
Yeah, I was admittedly being nitpicky in my podcast because really the only negative that I had to bring up in that pod was that I thought Brown waited too long to get Fox back involved. To me personally, like 29 other teams in a close game like that on your home floor, you need your star closing out that game. Like, and sometimes, and a lot of this has to do with how the Kings started 0-4 and how Mike Brown's rotations began, which he had talked about openly after the game. And he said, look, I have to take some accountability and ownership for I was figuring this team out. Like, I really liked what he said about that after the game. But there have been times where I think he's just trying to be a little too cute. Like, okay, they're expecting this. I'm going to do this. Like, oh, you're expecting De'Aaron Fox to come in and close out this game? No, have some Davion Mitchell. And I didn't think Davion did anything wrong last night. I thought Davion, like you said, did a good job defensively against Donovan. And overall, I mean, it didn't hurt the Kings tremendously by any means that Fox wasn't in that game. I don't think it's a coincidence either that when Fox checked into that game with 2 minutes and 40-something seconds remaining, the Kings closed the game on a 10-4 push. Now, Fox didn't have, if I recall, any of those 10 points.
Nope.
But defensively, Donovan Mitchell didn't score during those final 2 minutes and 40-something seconds. So going back to the Miami win here in Sacramento, that's another example of De'Aaron going, okay, they don't need my scoring right now. They need my defense and stepping up. And Mike Brown gave him credit for that after the game too. So I still think sometimes Mike tries to get a little too cute with his rotations. Like, keep it simple. This is a close game. Get your star in there. But overall, like, his rotations period look a lot more crisp. And I gave him a ton of praise for how he has really found and unlocked Malik Monk and Trey Lyles roles off the bench. Like, I think what he's done with Trey Lyles over these last couple of games has been a masterclass of recognizing the strengths of a player and getting him to be efficient in however many stretches you need from him.
Well, for the record, though, Casey, Matt's wrong. Mike was perfect yesterday, and he didn't do anything wrong.
That's fair.
That's my analysis.
100%.
Thank you. Just like Malik Monk is the greatest Sacramento King of all time. He's taking the mantle from Kevin Hurt.
Yeah, wow, that was quick.
It was a 24/7 title, baby. That's how it works.
The other thing about Mike Brown last night, because, and you touched on this a little bit, because I had thoughts. I wondered, just like everybody else, I said, De'Aaron gonna get back in here? And I was watching the game with my son. We was at the game. I was like, I don't think De'Aaron gonna get back in, because I was looking around. It's like, who's gonna come out? Because Davion was doing a really good job, at least making Donovan work. But this is where you give credit to Mike Brown, but I'm also going to give credit to De'Aaron Fox for accepting the challenge. He stepped up and said, hey, this is the guy that's cooking, much like what he did when Tyler Hero was going off against the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah,
he stepped up and said, I'm going to accept the challenge, and I'm going to work defensively on this guy, and I'm going to see if that brings home a win for us. And that's 2 occasions, where we're seeing something like that. And that's absolutely encouraging when you talk about Mike Brown's trust in De'Aaron Fox and De'Aaron Fox's willingness and execution to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, I think you hit a really good point there too, Kenny, was just talking about De'Aaron Fox's willingness. Like, I didn't pay too much attention to the bench when Fox was not in the game. And I mean, I didn't necessarily expect or wouldn't imagine Fox to be outwardly frustrated that he was not in the game. But I think a good indication of him accepting that moment was the fact that he came in with a defensive focus and not trying to get his shot, trying to get like, oh, you're going to bench me? You're only going to give me 2 minutes left? Okay, watch what I do over these final 2 minutes. That wasn't how Fox came back in the game. He was like, all right, I'm back in. I'm picking up where my boys left off defensively. And like, that's leadership from Fox there. And I think like knowing Fox's personality, the I'm gonna show you is not who he is. But at the same time, we have to give Mike Brown credit, even if De'Aaron's personality, I think De'Aaron has a team first personality more than anything else. And he's exhibited that over the course of his career. But I think Mike also clearly has the trust of De'Aaron to like, I'm going to get you back in when it's the right time for our team. And when I know you can deliver, and De'Aaron does deliver. Like, I think
he's shown that a lot this year with the entire roster.
Yeah. I think Brown has just done a masterclass so far in learning from and correcting mistakes and getting his players to recognize those mistakes and correct them too, and then finding the strengths of each one. Like the Malik Monk thing is a big addition too, because I know some people were interested in maybe moving Malik into the starting lineup, moving Harrison Barnes out. I'm really hesitant with that because I think
who would say that?
I think Malik's role right now is perfect for him. The way Mike Brown is using Malik Monk right now is perfect because he's still managing to find good stretches of minutes of Monk and Fox together. If you notice, Fox was one of the first subs for the Kings last night. Like, that was to get Fox back in at the end of the first and to start the second quarter so that he and Monk could have some run together, and they have clear chemistry. And you think about that 0-4 start, Fox and Monk barely played together. So that's another example of Mike's recognizing what worked, what didn't, making corrections, making adjustments. He doesn't need Malik Monk to start the game to get those stretches of maybe the Kings' best backcourt at times of Fox and Monk together.
The back-to-back alley-oops was Mike like, oh,
I got something here.
We should do this a little bit more real quick, KC. We've got tickets to see the Sacramento Kings in Brooklyn on Tuesday on national television. So you've got to be in the building. You've got to show out. If you got D-Lo and KC gear, you should rock that too.
That's right.
You can get 20% off of it right now by putting in the promo code KingsWin over at DLoandKC.com. But call right now, 916-909-1320. Caller number 3. Again, 916-909-1320. Put your phone down, Matt. You can't win these tickets. You have to go as a credentialed media member. You're not allowed to cheer, but you got to be in the house. It's
Jesse, pick up. Fine.
It'd be funny. You're caller number 2, Matt. Sorry. Sorry, buddy. So the Kings in Brooklyn on Tuesday. We'll have another pair to give away tomorrow. Go ahead, Casey. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I talked about it a little bit earlier. I want to see what Matt thinks about it. Sometimes we, do something. I don't want to call it lazy. It's not that, but it's like this obvious thing, right? Like, oh, let's just get Malik Monk here because that's De'Aaron Fox's best friend, and everything will be great. Well, that doesn't always like result in production just because somebody's friend is here and they get along. But it really does feel like it's helped Fox out a lot, having a guy like Malik Monk there. And not just that alone, but I think there is a big part of Malik being here that's re-energized De'Aaron Fox. And when they play on the floor together, it looks just like Kentucky again. Like it looks like they picked up right where they left off 5-6 years ago, and Fox is out there having fun. He's kind of been a little bit more demonstrative. Monk has shown himself to be a leader in his own right. I'm just want to get your opinion on, do you see this? Did you think this will work this well between those two getting paired up again?
Seeing it in person, it definitely puts a lot more context, I think, to what they were doing at Kentucky and what they were able to do at Kentucky. Like, I remember when we first found out that Malik Monk was coming to Sacramento, thanks to a tip off from a couple of radio guys. That De'Aaron was asked a lot of questions, and one of the things De'Aaron kept saying is, man, we've talked every day. Like I've talked to Malik every day. He talked about how that Kentucky team, himself, Bam, Wendon Gabriel, like they talk all the time. So you can see that relationship has carried out throughout the years that they've been separate in the NBA. But like the on-court relationship, they just complement each other so well. And I remember going back down rabbit holes of that Kentucky backcourt. And I mean, everybody kind of thinks Malik Monk's primary skill in the NBA is as a shooter, but he was so lethal with De'Aaron in the fast break and attacking the basket and throwing lobs to each other, like we got kind of a snippet of in Sacramento a couple of games ago. But to me, like what complements the way they complement each other the most on the floor, Kenny, and this is probably my favorite thing about their relationship, is they're very yin and yang in their attitudes, how they present themselves. Like Fox is very calm, composed, like he smiles, and we've seen there are moments where he'll bang his chest, and you saw his reaction during the Orlando Magic game winner, and it almost flipped a little bit. Like you notice everybody mobbed him except for Malik. Malik was kind of off to the side, and Fox was looking right at Malik and talking at Malik. Like that's the relationship that they have. But when you see Malik come into a game, whatever he does, pounding on his chest, screaming, whether it's an assist, a shot, like, yeah, exactly. Like Malik is just this energy, and Fox is kind of this calm, composed confidence, and they work really, really well together. And I think that energy that Malik has, like you said, kind of re-energized Fox in a lot of ways. Fox looks like he's having fun playing basketball right now, while also recognizing, oh, wait, my game's easy. Like I can get whatever I want right now, especially with my three-point shot dropping. And there also seems to be a confidence in De'Aaron knowing I've got players now. I got a team that's got my back, man. I can sit on the bench until 2 minutes left in the game and know that my backup point guard and Davion can handle the assignment. I got Sabonis to take some of the weight off my shoulders. I got my best buddy Monk. I have Kevin Huerter who won't miss a three every time I pass to him. Like I got this rookie in Keegan Murray who has the confidence of Tim Duncan 10 years into his career. Like you can see just a revitalized, almost a refreshed De'Aaron. And to your point, Kenny, I think Malik is a major part of that.
I realized how easily influential I still am at 40-something years old when I looked at the video that we posted from the Odyssey party last night. It was lit. Me, Kenny, and Mia Moore, and I'm watching this Instagram reel, and I do this, and this was posted before the game. And
I can't confirm.
I remember thinking, okay, do like because they're filming us for 15 seconds, and I'm like, yeah, dude, there's three of us. All right. And I just did the 3-point thing. Yeah. And I was like, what did I do? What did I do that for? And Malik, I was like, oh, I took it from, I've been seeing Malik do it, and I took it from him and realized I have the impressionism of a 17-year-old.
Also, can we say too, like, I don't care
anything.
Whatever happened to Malik's face, I hope it never heals. Like Band-Aid Malik is up there with Ninja Headband De'Aaron Fox that the NBA had to take away because they knew it was a problem. Like Band-Aid Malik can't go nowhere. If Nelly
brocked it for like 4 years, Malik can do it too.
Yeah, I agree that. And you know what? So people, give it to Nelly, and I get it, especially where it's at.
I know where you're going.
Penny.
Oh. I thought you were going somewhere else.
Where?
Left eye.
Left eye did do it. Well, left eye had something else on her left eye. That was crazy. I don't want to see Malik playing with that. I don't want to see Malik playing with
Google it, kids. If you don't, if
we
you're
don't
not,
need Malik playing with that.
just Google it. Matt George. Matt George wasn't outside for the condom under the left eye.
Outside.
Matt George wasn't.
Huh?
Neither was Jesse. Jesse just gave me a look like, what? Yep. So just Google it. It's there.
So we don't need Malik doing that. But I remember Penny Hardaway had the Band-Aid, but it was above the brow. You know what I'm saying? He had the Band-Aid for, I think maybe it was in the playoffs or something like that. But, I agree with you, Matt. I think Malik needs to just lean on into this. This needs to be his thing right now.
Yeah, I think he's in an optimized role, like just an optimized role, and keep it that way.
I still think it's fantastic that someone hit the chatty house yesterday and said a referee scratched him. A referee scratched Malik Monk. And we're giving flowers to Malik Monk, rightfully so. He is, I made a Amon Shumpert comparison earlier. Matt George, how Kings fans have been longing for that swag that Shump brought, and it's like, you've got the swag. You got a significantly better ball player at this time in his career than Shump was when he was here. And I think there are just strong vibes around Malik Monk, but I don't want to talk about that fourth quarter because you addressed how De'Aaron did, how Davion did. The other side of that Malik Monk coin was Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter, who had just been, kind of, low key. Keegan Murray had a nice little bounce back game yesterday, in addition to Harrison Barnes's bounce back game. But when that fourth quarter rolled around, man, that was Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk on the offensive end, at least, doing business.
I just want to see Kevin Huerter show a little bit of facial expression while doing his 3-point celebration that he does, because he always hits it. Every time he hits a three, he hits it. But his face is just deadpan. I'm like, it looks like Keegan Murray.
It's called the Keegan Murray celebration.
Also, by the way, like the Kings media squad, like they do such a good job with their pregame videos or whatever, and they debuted a new one. Like they turned those around quick. They had De'Aaron's Orlando game winner as part of their like pregame hype video before starting lineups. And like for those of us who were at media day, like there were screaming in the background all day long because they were getting this screaming stuff to use for these kind of hype videos and things like that. And that's what produced the famous Mike Brown scream when he yelled back at him. But like, if I could lend a small critique there to the Kings media team, why did you use Domantas Sabonis's scream? It's like the most mellow scream out of all of them to open up the hype video. Like I heard some of them ear splitting screams, and Sabonis was like, ah! I was like, okay, Domas, cool, welcome. All right, I'm ready to go, I guess. Like this
is one of the most. It's got to be one of the most chill teams in the league between Keegan, Kevin Huerter, and Domas. Domas can be pretty aggressive on the floor,
right?
But like past that,
he's low key.
He's chill.
Yeah.
I mean, even TD threw down that dunk and let out a scream and got a technical foul for it. Hell, if they're going to get techs for that, I really want to see Kevin Huerter or Keegan get a tech just for smiling an eyebrow like The Rock.
Yeah, like, oh my God, Keegan Murray smiled. It'd be the smug referee from last night. Give him a technical.
What did you do to me?
After Kings wins too, Scott Moak always does in-arena interviews with players. And of course, they never get the superstars of the game because those typically go to TV and G-Man on radio. They had Keegan last night. And Keegan was very nice, said good things about the crowd and everything like that. But Moak has all this energy. Keegan, big win. How about this? Yeah, well, I'm happy to be home. We needed this win. I'm like, okay, Keegan.
That was Harrison. Harrison was the same way on television. When his mic worked, Harrison was the same exact way on television. And credit to Drapes and Matt Barnes, who just saw Harrison Barnes's mouth stop moving and just asked him another question. Because there's no way I saw Drapes look at Matt and they're like, uh-oh. And Matt saw Harrison Barnes stop talking, so he just asked him another question. It was tremendous.
I think Harrison was playing with us a little bit in the post-game media press conference last night too, because he would not talk about himself. If you asked him like James Ham opened his press conference about, hey, you look like yourself tonight. And his answer was, I'm glad the team got a win. And what, like, he would not talk about himself. So, but Mike Brown did stand up for him a little bit, saying, I hope y'all don't talk about him as much. So
he was talking to you,
Harrison.
Me?
Yeah, he was talking to you and James Ham.
Well, James Ham for sure. James been trying to trade him since summertime.
Harrison is absolutely sick of us.
Oh, for sure.
Understandably so. Like
he's sick of
no wonder. Like Harrison, much like I do with certain things, I stay away from it. But Harrison's got friends who screenshot stuff to him or text him stuff and are like, "Yo, you won't believe this." That like, and Harrison, man, I don't care.
Well, also like Harrison follows the baby giraffe, Tim Maxwell, and Tim basically leaves Harrison out to dry everything he does, and Harrison follows him. So hey, I guess you reap what you sow, man.
Who does the baby giraffe like?
No one.
Himself.
Absolutely
Every
no
Kings player is not even an NBA player.
Yeah, he doesn't like anyone or anything. But he's funny.
He is funny. I like Tim.
You mentioned Terrence Davis earlier, not in the context of any conversation we're having, but as we were talking about rotations earlier, Matt, and we were talking about Mike Brown, and man, when you talk about like Trey Lyles and his performance over the course of the last couple of games and how it's very real for Trey Lyles to potentially have a night where he plays 29 minutes and then have a night where he plays 4 and then a night like last night where he plays 18. Mike very much clearly coaches like in kind of the feel of the game. And apparently for Cleveland, there was no feel for Terrence Davis, who's had some good ball games. And it just speaks to, wasn't the first, I don't know that we've seen a TDDNP, but we've seen minimal minutes from Terrence Davis in previous games, but he's always been ready. He's always bounced back whenever his number was called. And I think, again, as just my 4-hour-long tribute to Mike Brown continues, I think it's a testament to these players buying in to what they're seeing, where for whatever reason, it wasn't Davis's night. I think there is an exception to that, and we'll get to that exception in a minute. But like clearly it wasn't Terrence Davis's night last night, and he'll be ready for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Or he'll be ready for Brooklyn and San Antonio and Detroit and all the games ahead.
Yeah, he just has shown, I think, a lot of professionalism. Terrence Davis, he's stayed ready, and when his number is called, I thought even when he's missing shots, he's been impactful enough to be respected by defenses. But I think a lot of that also had to do with the fact last night that, like, for the Kings to beat a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers and do it with their leading scorer having 21 points, I mean, it took Donovan Mitchell's 38 for Cleveland to have a chance. Now, I thought Karis LeVert got to the basket way too easily last night. And then Evan Mobley had a stretch where he was scoring every single thing in the paint. And the Cavs dominated the Kings in the paint last night. Like that, I think it was like 64-40 or something like that. But like the Kings, 7 players reaching double-figure scoring. Your leading scorer is Sabonis with 21. Barnes had 20. Fox had 16. I mean, everybody else sprinkled a little bit here or there. Like I don't know if it was a matchup purpose or it was because basically everybody that Brown was playing was getting some and getting involved. Like even Chimezie Metu, like I think Metu finished with like 5 points or something like that. But his 5 points were, or 4 points, but they were emphatic. Like one was an alley-oop dunk and the other one was another dunk that he had in the first half that wasn't the strongest of finishes, but it was one of those, oh, okay, Metu. Like I thought like, whether the plus minus says so or not, like I thought he was getting plus positive performances out of everybody who stepped on the floor last night. And that was a 9-guy deep rotation. So at that point, it's like, hey, these 9 are working. And I'm going to change up the combinations of the 9, but these 9 are working right now. TD, you're getting the night off, not because I couldn't use you, but because these 9 are stepping up and playing their role. Yeah. And I think TD accepts that. I think everybody on that bench accepts that.
No, these guys, they give off strong vibes. I haven't been in the locker room or been around them too much because they haven't been home too much, but you just get the vibe. They're playing for each other. It's a cliche that's used, but they're absolutely playing for each other and for one common goal, and that's to make this team a winning team. And you love to see that. It shows on the court. It shows, with who's excited when something good happens to somebody else. Guys who haven't played 2 games straight are out there, first one's out there giving everybody high fives. Those things matter, man. They absolutely matter. Matt, I want to ask you this real quick. 10 games in, 4-6. I don't know if you participated in what I did or you did it on your own, but when I screenshotted first 10 games and said, what's the record? I said 5-5 before the season. They're 4-6. You can make the argument they should be 6-4 or something like that.
Or 7-4.
Or 7-4. or 7-4. They're 4-6. What's your thoughts about where the Kings stand after these first 10 games?
Well, I'll put it this way. One, I did not participate in your exercise and give an actual record, Kenny, because I'm a coward. I did talk about how important it was for the Kings to get off to a good start. I think 4-6, especially given the fact that you were 0-4 with 3 of those 4 games at home to open the season. Like, I think that's tremendous. They've won 4 out of their last 6 games. They're 4-2 in their last 6. So that, I mean, considering the fact that 4 of those 6 games were on the road, and the 2 that you lost on the road were by questionable decisions. Like, the thing is, had Tyler Hero's shot not been down, game would have been tied. If Kevin Huerter was actually, or if Klay Thompson was actually whistled for the foul and Huerter was mugged, Huerter still has to hit 3 free throws. So I'm not going to say like, oh, the Kings absolutely would have won those games. Those are 2 wins taken off the board. But 5-5, sure. 6-4, 7-4, I guess. Sure. Like, if that's what we're saying, sure. Why not? Like, but to me, the big thing is, with the exception of, there have been stretches of games that I'm like, oh God, this sucks. Like the first half of the Warriors game. Oh, this is terrible. The first Warriors game. I felt the Memphis game at home, like that was the first game where it was like watching all the way through. I'm like, okay, the Kings aren't playing bad, but I don't feel like they have much of a shot. But every single night, the Kings have played competitive, which is one of the wish list items for all of us coming into this game. Hey, be competitive every night. They are. And they're showing improvement from the start. So I think you absolutely have to take 4-6 with a bow on top and say thank you very much. Like, and it's not unreasonable to think that with this Lakers game and Warriors game coming up, that this team could be 6-6, especially with the Warriors game being at home. Like, I'm not predicting that. I'm not saying the Kings should be anybody, because I think that's like Jason Jones used to mock that kind of mindset of the Kings aren't good enough to say they should be anyone. I agree with that, but I think they can be anyone.
Well, what they should do, Matt, in my estimation now, is compete every night. Like, yes. I think when you take the 10-game sample size, I feel like that's what's clear, is they're capable of competing every night, no matter. Memphis is good. You know, Portland is still cooking, though. You talk about games they could have had, like that Portland game, that Terrence Davis technical foul. That still sits sour with me. You shoot 57% of your free throws. You make 57% of your free throws against the Clippers in the next game. You know, there's a lot of little things that you can point to, but regardless, they're competing every single night, and that should continue.
And it goes a little bit further than that too, is especially in these last 2 games. Like, again, there've been bad stretches, but like Sacramento has looked like they're in control. They're playing their game, their brand of basketball, and maintaining leads. Now they still got to learn closing time, winning time. That's when the stars really shine brightest. And we saw what Steph Curry and the Warriors did. The Cavs made their comeback attempt. Like, learning how to close out games. It doesn't matter if you lead for 47 minutes, if you lose it in the 48th, like, and I'm happy to see the Kings were able to learn how to close last night's game against a Cleveland team that I saw some people disrespecting Cleveland last night. I think Cleveland's a really good basketball team. Like, I think they're going to be very, very good in the Eastern Conference. So I don't turn my nose up on that win at all with the Sacramento Kings being able to close out against that team.
Tune those people out.
That's more basketball people.
Yeah, watch the film, guys. We're running out of time, Matt. We appreciate you playing hurt with us today. I'll keep the question simple, though, because your answer will have to be short. Do you think Rashawn plays on Friday?
No, I don't think so. Like, I think the big thing to me is Chimezie Metu is doing off the bench what you were hoping Rashawn Holmes can do. He's finishing. Chimezie Metu is making what I used to call Rashawn Holmes plays, especially finishing around the rim. Like, and that suggests to me, and I think it's too early to give up on Rashawn Holmes, but that suggests to me, guys, and I'll keep this short. It suggests to me that not only, like, I thought at first, okay, the Kings aren't getting Rashawn involved enough in pick and rolls and around the rim, but how come Chimezie Metu, who's smaller, is now doing it? Suggests to me that Chimezie Metu is putting himself in the right spot, and Malik Monk specifically keeps finding him.
Matt, again, we appreciate you. The headliner for Batty Thursday here on D'Lo and KC. Matt George. Make sure you check out the Locked On Kings podcast, available wherever you get podcasts from, available on YouTube as well. Make sure you're a subscriber for J Street Vibes. New episode of Corners of the Culture, available as well wherever you get podcasts from. And if you want to rock some D'Lo and KC gear, head over to DloandKC.com. Use the promo code Kings Win. Promo code Kings Win gets you 20% off your entire order.